Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It's Geoff, Mosher, and Adam Caplan. Welcome to training camp. The first practice starts this morning. For those of you who like to listen to Inside the Birds right in the morning, hopefully you're hearing this before the practice starts. If not, it doesn't matter. We're going to do two things. We're going to finish off our series on the issues facing the team on defense. We're going to give you the issues and the answers that the Eagles have for this from our vantage point. And then also we'll discuss really quickly some of the moves that were made on the eve of the first practice, which we'll get into right now, Adam. The Eagles probably made some moves that, if you don't know the names, probably was a little bit of a, I don't know, some people might think it's a nothing burger, but it's not. They signed defensive end. Bear with me, folks. I know his nickname is Ogbonnia Okoronkwo, and they also signed defensive tackle Jacob Sykes, and they waived defensive end KJ Henry, or I should call them Edge.
Yeah.
And they also, Edge, I should say. And they waived running back Lou Nichols, which I'm only chuckling because we sort of were confused about the Lou Nichols bring back in the first place. But, Adam, the Edge that they bring in, who's played for both the Texans and the Browns, Obo, let's just call him Obo, right?
That's a nickname, I'm told. Yeah. I've probably worked on gathering information on this guy with the Texans or Browns a bunch of times, and We'll give you intel what happened there with Cleveland. Mm-hmm. But he's the guy. Now he's older. He's older. He is now 30 years old, which he turned in April. He's clearly on the back nine of his career. Maybe the last four holes on his career. Maybe he's on the 15th hole, 14th hole. But there's a guy there's a reason why he signed a 3-year deal in March of 23 with the Browns, worth just under $19 million, like $3 under $19 million. So the guy was one of the better edge rush sub package rushers with the Texans, and he signed a really good deal with the Browns. Then he's a backup, signed to be their third edge rusher. What's troubling though, under Jim Schwartz, the wide nine didn't do it. That's not a good sign, but they didn't sign to be a starter. We talked about a couple months ago. Hey, the Eagles need another edge rusher. They don't need Clowney. They don't need anyone like that. We know they're going with Hunt and Smith. We're going to get into the issues and answers. Mm-hmm. But they needed one more guy. They needed someone who's been there and done that. And obviously the Eagles look at his tape. They think there's something left, but he just didn't play up to what they wanted. In fact, as a matter of fact, there was a decent amount of guaranteed money in year 2 for Obo here, so that they weren't going to cut him. So that it didn't happen year 1.
Right.
Year 2 just didn't happen, and there was no guaranteed money in year 3. They moved on from him.
Yeah. Hey, listen, it's a good signing. It adds to your rotation if you make your team, right? I mean, you released the edge KJ Henry, who wasn't going to factor really in. You drafted Antoine Powell-Ryland, right? You hope you have Patrick Johnson, but this is a guy who, if he has a really good sort of like, I don't want to make it apples to apples with Thomas Booker, but if he comes in, has a good camp, you'll find a use for him. It might be a small use, but he's got a lot more experience in production than KJ Henry. So it's an automatic upgrade right from the start.
All right, let's look at this is the rotation right now. It's Smith, it's Hunt, it's Ojulari, it's Uche. Now they have to see if Uche, they think he's got plenty left in the tank, but he's got to, it's one thing to do well or show that you could still play in OTAs. That's one thing. Got to see what happens in training camp in the preseason. So they have a 4-man rotation. As we've said many times, and you brought up a couple months ago, you need to have 3, at least for training camp only, you need to have 3 teams, your first, your second, your third team. Well, you know who the first 2 teams are. Patrick Johnson's really only a special teams player. He doesn't really factor in. KJ Henry never factored in. Mm-hmm. O'Shawn Mathis doesn't really factor in yet. He could play his way into the third team if he performs well. Powell-Ryland is a rookie. As much as they like him, the guy's a 6th-round pick. They don't know about him. We know the rookies under Howie almost always make the team if you're a 7th rounder. But right now they need that. They need that rotation. And plus, you have to understand this. What happens if somebody gets hurt? We've used this term. This is a coaching term. What's our answer if this guy gets hurt? Who's our answer? Well, you're bringing in Obo here off the bench with Uche and Ojulari. One of the Uche and Ojulari right now are ahead of him. One of those guys would move up, and you need someone to replace him. You can't have enough edge rushers is another point here. Just cannot.
Right. The other kid they signed, Jacob Sykes, I know he was undrafted in 2023, and then he was signed by the Seahawks. He didn't make the team. He was brought back, and then I guess he spent some time with the San Antonio Brahmas of the United Football League. So this is I hate to use the word camp body sometimes, but it feels like that's really I just don't know why specifically they targeted that area, but we have talked about defensive tackle and being thin there, and you need a lot of those in camp as well.
Yeah, they're thin, So, and we'll just talk more about the back end. We know what the first 4 or 5 guys are going to be like, but after Ty Robinson, Booker, and Byron Young for the third team, you just have Gabe Hall. Well, I know that he improved in OTAs, but again, we'll see what this really means, if it means anything. This week, we'll start getting an idea. But their third team doesn't really exist, so it's other than Gabe Hall. So you have another guy. That's all. I mean, you need a rotation for the third team.
Did you see the 2 colleges that Jacob Sykes attended, by the way?
No. Where did he go?
It's almost as extreme as Alex Hunt, but not so much. He started off at Harvard and then wound up at UCLA, which is, you just don't see that quite
Boston
often.
in LA. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, just like Harvard, which is not necessarily a football school
Exactly,
at all.
right, exactly.
And then UCLA, pretty decent one. So very funny there. He's from Kansas City guy. He's 6'3", 270. I just had it in front of me and now I lost it, but he's a 277. So an undersized, probably a 3 technique type of guy.
Again, he did play in the UFL. Okay. So
yeah, that was the Brahmas the San Antonio Brahmas.
Yeah, interesting that they're, they want to take a look. Again, it's just a back end player, highly unlikely to make the team, but you never know when these guys come in, if they ball out and put good tape together, you never know if they could play in the league.
There you go. All right, our Patreon members tonight will have the weekly Ask ITB live stream. It starts at 8:00 p.m. So make sure you're dialed into the Patreon channel to watch for that link. It should be a very, very well attended bar room style Ask ITB live stream. I imagine you're going to have 13, 14, 15 people up in there ready to talk about what's going to happen at training camp and maybe even that first practice that's going on today. And then, of course, you got to be a member at patreon.com/InsideTheBirds. You get that and so much more, including every podcast uploaded early and without ads. Early the night before, sometimes earlier than that, and no ads if you listen to the podcast as a Patreon member. Again, patreon.com/InsideTheBirds. Now we will dive into completing our 2-part series on the issues in camp and the answers that we're going to give you. Issue number 1. Now, I think that they have already an answer for this issue, but we will go through some outside answers. But it's the plan to adequately replace Milton Williams. And we've discussed this a little bit, Adam. This is the time for third-year defensive tackle Moro Ojomo to step up and seize the role. But this will be a proving ground for him. He's not played this many snaps before that he's going to play, and he's got to show not only that you can play that volume, but also be as productive as Milton Williams was, which is going to be very difficult because Milton had a great year last year. And then right behind him, Adam, there'll be some guys chomping at the heels for some playing time there.
What's interesting about Milton Williams is that he was good immediately when he was drafted in 22. Like he was it 2021? Yeah.
No, 22. You were right.
22? Okay.
No. I'm sorry. 21. 21.
It's 4 years. Yeah. Because he was a free agent this year. Yeah. It would be 2021. He was good immediately. This guy just got better every year. He was good immediately. He was really big surprise coming out of Louisiana Tech. But Ojomo and Williams they don't play the same way. Williams is way stronger. Ojomo's got much better upside as a pass rusher, a little bit faster, quick step. But Williams is a technician, tough, physical, smart. It's been really an incredible story of development. But you know what? Ojomo's been a good story too.
He has. I was just about to say, Ojomo really has played well when he's been put out there. You're right. He's not the same player, but what he has done well, he's done well. And then he gets off the ball really fast.
That's it. And Ty Robinson has got a little bit better versatility from what we understand than Ojomo. They're super excited about Ty Robinson, but they're young players. Ty Robinson's a rookie. Ojomo's in his 3rd year. Ojomo now will be considered a starter. Now, a starter could be 50% of the snaps. It could be 40. It could be 70%. That's something they're going to work through once they see Ojomo work with the first team in training camp and see how he does technique-wise especially. Then the question is, then the answer we just gave you is Ojomo and Robinson, but there's another part to this. What if it doesn't work?
Mm-hmm.
What's the answer? Now, the list is getting smaller. A bunch of veteran D tackles have signed over the last 2 weeks. Here are the best guys available. Jordan Phillips, who was with Buffalo. Maurice Hurst, who's been around with the Browns, the Raiders, the Niners. Quentin Jefferson is Is an older guy, pretty good character guy. Jamarcus Walker's got some positional versatility. He's played in a 34 and a 43. And Jihad Ward, who's been he's still playing. He hasn't retired. He's still been with a bunch of teams. So there's some journeyman types.
Yep.
But this is why the Eagles went with no veterans last year in terms of their defensive line. They just they wanted to go young because they thought those guys would be better, and it was the right choice.
Yeah, and I will say, I feel like that those names you mentioned, the available veterans, will be a last resort. And if things just don't work out between Ajomo and Robinson the way the Eagles want it to, I'm not going to dismiss the idea, because the coaches have told us this. They believe that they saw improvement from Jordan Davis as a pass rusher. So I'm not going to put a lid on it. I have to see it first myself, other than in small spurts. But he is a candidate. And then, Adam, you mentioned Gabe Hall and Byron Young. I mean, these are two guys who, with a year of seasoning in the Eagles system and coaching under their belt, could perhaps surprise. I mean, one guy was a third-round pick. The other guy we thought should have been drafted and has a really good athletic body. So I would say those three guys, to me, are more likely to have one guy step up and seize it than them have to go to the street free agent route. But it's good to present both sides of the, like, what's out there just in case.
Yeah. It's not great that it's out there. The list was, it was about a month ago, it was pretty robust. But once you get hugging up to start a training camp, guys all of a sudden want to sign you. They don't want to deal with the OTAs and stuff. And some guys probably will, you know what? I don't want to be there, man. I don't want to be there in the hot weather. Sign me in late August.
Yeah.
But, we'll see if there are jobs available. So that's the plan. And those are the answers at D tackle. It pretty much covers it. Now, and as we get through the show, as we talked about on offense earlier this week, if we hear that it's not looking good, we'll give you a list of potential targets somewhere around mid-August. If we only hear that it's not going well, and we'll give you potential trade targets from other clubs for this position.
Got it. All right, issue 2, something we've talked about quite a bit. There's no more Josh Sweat. There's no more Brandon Graham. That is a lot of years of experience. That is a lot of high-level play, high-level leadership, production, hurries, sacks over the years. I mean, even many years for Brandon Graham. But Josh Sweat, sort of like we discussed with Milton Williams, Josh Sweat was a 4th-round pick who just played well pretty much as soon as he became an Eagle. You started to see why he was one of the top, I think he was one of the top high school recruits, right? And then he hurt his knee, and that hurt his draft stock. But outside of that small time in the end of 2023, where the whole defense kind of imploded, Josh Sweat gave a lot of great contributions to this Eagles defense and became a really fabulous story. We know about Brandon Graham. The answers, though, Adam, they're right there. The answers to the test are there. They just have to be the answers.
However, though, okay, it's Hunt and Nolan Smith. Now,
right.
What we really haven't talked about before, what would be the plan? Everybody knows that Ojulari is going to enter training camp as the 3rd edge rusher. That's not this point.
Mm-hmm.
But what if Smith, coming back from his surgery, remember, last year's training camp really didn't show that he was ready to be a contributor at a high level, and it was one of those amazing stories as the season progressed. Then he became a player. We got to see what this looks like, right, in training camp. Hunt, as a full-time player, as high as we've been on him, as much as we followed his career before he was drafted, and we got a tip that we got to be on this guy, not for the Eagles, but just overall when we were doing draft shows with Greg Cosell, we begged Greg, find his tape and watch it, because this guy's going to probably go in the 3rd round, and he did to the Eagles, which is interesting. But now he's progressed as he did late last season, and everybody's excited, but he's not been asked to play full-time at the NFL level. This is only his 4th year as an edge rusher. What if it doesn't work? Now, they sign Obo, as we just talked about a couple minutes ago. They have Ojulari. They have Uche. So those are the guys who would be next. But what if Ojulari, if he gets hurt? Look, if these guys get hurt, and it's very clear, again, as we said 3 months ago, they do not want to sign a big-time edge rusher. Why? Because they want Hunt to play. Mm-hmm. They want Smith to play. That's happened. Like, they haven't done that. They haven't addressed, they haven't signed anyone who's a big time. So if it doesn't work with these guys, or they get an injury and they need one more guy, here's the available edges. Clowney, we talked about this a couple months ago. He's going to have to accept, if he came to Philly, you're not going to play very much if these guys are healthy. But if Hunt can't handle playing 70% playing time, they need someone like Zadarius Smith, Jadeveon Clowney, Matthew Judon, Shaq Barrett's out there, Preston Smith, Tyus Bowser. It's a buyer's market. They need someone for that edge role, you talked about BG, and that 33%, maybe 25%. Is Clowney going to be willing to do that? I don't see that. Now, do you want to have a chance to win a Super Bowl? This is the discussion we had weeks ago, but they don't really need that right now. They have with this signing of Obo, they've got enough of the two young kids, Smith and Hunt. They've got the two vets, Ojulari and Uche, and they've got Powell Ryland and Obo. So they've got their six for training camp. They're good there.
Yeah.
But if someone gets hurt, it changes.
I agree. I think they've done everything they can to answer the question of what if Hunt and Smith aren't ready to be the full-time starters and productive, and they've given themselves Ojulari and Uche and now Obo. I mean, they've armed themselves with enough. You just have to hope it works out. But if it doesn't, you do like the fact that there's somewhat of a buyer's market as long as some of those guys you mentioned are willing to accept those roles. And I think at this stages of their careers, if they want to win a ring, as you mentioned, they probably would be all right with that. We'll see. I mean, I can't speak for all of them, but I
can't speak for Clowney. Clowney, it's a humbling thing. And by the way, he could still play.
Yeah.
The Panthers made it clear they just wanted to go young because they know they're not winning. So they might as well start playing younger players and develop them. But Clowney could still play. I mean, there were questions 3 years ago with Cleveland. It didn't end well for him with the Browns, but the Panthers, I know talking to them, they thought he could still play. To me, he's a no more than 50% play time. And remember, he's not a big-time edge rusher, despite all the rumors or what people think. He's just a big name.
Right.
But the thing about him is he's long, he's powerful, and you can play him inside a nickel, like under D-line, and that's a real good value. I know the Eagles have been intrigued by him over the years, but they never really made a run at him. But he's out there, and they'll see if they need to do something. But again, they want to get Smith has come back from torn triceps. He should be ready to roll here. Hunt, we just have to see what he can handle. And they're going to know, by the way, they'll know by mid-August, because we gave the schedule off for the first 3 weeks, but by mid-August, they're going to know where Hunt is.
Right. By the way, Von Miller was at one point on that list, but he is now with the Commanders, who really needed some edge rush, and we'll see how much juice that he has left, because I imagine he'll actually be given some opportunities to get out there and prove it, given what they need at the edge rush. Let's move on to issue number 3, because when we give the answers, Adam, I'm not as comfortable with these answers as maybe anybody else for the organization even is. And the issue is replacing Nakobe Dean, who's probably not going to be back until October, as we understand it. And the answer is, well, they've got Jeremiah Trotter Jr. entering year 2, and they've got a rookie in Smile Mondon, who was picked in the 5th round, and also their 1st round pick, Jihad Campbell, is someone that they see starting off his career as long as he's back sometime in August at that position too. But we're talking about a lot of ifs here. We're talking about 2 rookies who have never played an NFL down, and then Jeremiah Trotter Jr. entering year 2, who honestly we heard great things about. We know the organization likes him, but again, not a whole lot of experience on defense for a team that's trying to win a Super Bowl.
And they're really light, by the way. So it's Trotter Jr.'s up first. They got Smile Mondon. They'll see about Campbell whenever he starts working. With him is once he's cleared, and I want to get back to Dean in a minute, but once he's cleared, they got to see how he is picking the defense up. That's got great coaching with Fangio and Bobby King, but you don't know. He's new to them. They don't know the player. They know what the tape looked like. They know he's explosive. He's got tremendous size for inside backer. Doesn't get any better than that in terms of size. And he's local. He loves being Eagle. They love having him. But until you get him on the field, you don't know. Now, getting back to Dean, let's say he surprises people. He comes back earlier than first week of October. Let's say. Let's say they don't have him on reserve PUP to start the season, because you have to miss 4 games if you're on reserve PUP. It's not 6 anymore. They changed the rules, by the way, in recent years to clear that up. But let's say he's ready in second week of September. There's a different level of readiness. People can't assume he's ready to start. Like, it's one thing, okay, he could contribute. But at what level? You're not going to know until you get there. He may just have to be a backup this season. They're not going to know on Dean coming back for torn patellar tendon. That's a worse injury than ACL. People could talk he's running well. Well, we learned this, and this is a different injury with Sidney Brown. Remember the media was talking, oh, boy, he looks great. He looks like he's going to be ready for the season. Yeah. Just because he runs well in a straight line means he's ready?
Right.
People don't know what they're looking at when they're at practice. They're only sitting on Jason Field. So be careful. This is a devastating knee injury. I'm glad he's doing well. Doing well and being ready to play are two different things.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Sidney Brown is an interesting. I mean, the guy didn't even play his first game until October 20th, where he wound up playing 9 snaps on defense. I mean, that's not quite a lot. I mean, he didn't play double-digit snaps on defense until that week 16 game against Dallas, I think it was, where he played 10. So, I mean, he just didn't play a whole lot. I mean, he played special teams right from the start, but that's not what they're looking for from Nakobe Dean. They're looking for him to be able to come back and be a starter. So yeah,
we'll see. It's such a bad injury, and you're trying to do this in season. Most likely, it's hard, man. It's hard. Now, the answers we just gave you, but we're going to take this a step further. Okay. Well, what happens if Trot Jr. is inconsistent? Mondin, who's got better, he's longer, more explosive. What if they don't think he's ready?
Mm-hmm.
It's not something, they've done. Hang on one second. They've done a lot of patchwork before.
Yeah. Even by the way, even an injury, it doesn't have to be they're not happy. I mean, you're just one injury away from really needing some names here, because one injury, I mean, you're already down to the rookie free agent probably on your third string. Trot and Bond will be your first string, and your second string will be Mondin will get in there, and maybe when Campbell's ready, he'll be in there. But I mean, who's the third stringer from Toledo that they brought in? Lance Dixon, is that it?
Yes, yeah. I mean,
I'm honestly surprised they don't have a veteran like one of these guys that you're about to talk about already in camp, ready to go. And
that's why we have this list. So the one guy who sticks out, and by the way, again, this list has been picked over. So that's why we're updating it. Kaiser White, who they know, like it's talk about plug and play. He knows the defense. So because he played under Gannon, he was running Fangio, so he knows the defense. And obviously, White played with the Cardinals, so yeah, he's ready to go.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, he's unsigned. He's not the same player he once was, but he could still play. Eric Kendricks, Michael's younger brother, tons of injuries.
Mm-hmm.
He's played in a 34. He's played odd man fronts. You're just talking about a guy who you need for depth. And Juwan Bentley is much younger, who's very talented. Was a good story development with the Patriots, but he had a knee injury a couple years ago, and they didn't want him. So he's available. But the list, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for ILBs.
Yep.
That I could looking at my file here. So those are all the answers, man. But I'm fascinated to see Mondin. I'm going to look more into, maybe you might as well, why was he not drafted higher? I know he's on the thinner side, but so what? Today's NFL linebacker is not 240, 250,
Yeah, that's a good point. Part of that great Georgia defense, great athlete. I am surprised. It can't just be size. I wonder if it's similar. We'll look into it. But, Nakobe Dean was a third-round pick because of, size and injury concerns. So, yeah, let's look into that on Smile and figure out why he was just a fifth-rounder. All right, the last one is a really difficult answer discussion, because this is not like you're pulling guys off your bench that you think you can really compete here. And that's if Keely Ringo or Dory Jackson duke it out there to replace Darius Slay, and the Eagles aren't happy with either, where do they go, Adam? Because, then you're looking at Eli Ricks, or maybe even the fifth-round pick, Mac McWilliams, who I thought kind of stood out a little bit OTAs, but I mean, like you always say, that's double A. You're a rookie. Yeah. Once the pads come out, it's a totally different story. But those would be the only in-house options that you'd consider realistic. So that would actually make you want to look outside the organization.
Yeah, I mean, look, Mac McWilliams may get some work on the outside, but yeah, he's short arms. We've talked about him. It's unlikely, but you can't say it couldn't happen. But it's unlikely. Castor Fields is there, out of your school, Penn State. Perry Nickerson is more of a nickel. Now, the in-house. The one thing, though, that they could do, and this could happen, this definitely could happen, is they move DeJean to corner. That could definitely happen. If they're not happy with Jackson or Ringo, that's where Mac McWilliams becomes a factor. Like he's like, or Perry Nickerson. That's how Perry Nickerson can make the team. If the outside guys are not doing well, and Coop could play outside, and in base he might be playing corner, as Vic said. So I know they don't play a lot of it, but the fact of the matter is he was drafted to play corner. As we said when he was drafted, that's what they wanted to do. Plans change. They're allowed to do that. So he may be doing that. If it doesn't work out with Jackson Ringo, we something we're going to keep an eye on, man. I'm very curious to see how this works out. And this is another one where the first 2 weeks we're probably going to know.
Oh yeah, I would think so. We'll know real quickly on that one.
He
Good
did last
stuff.
year, by the way, with
Yeah.
Rodgers and Ringo.
Yeah.
First week.
Who would be a good outside the box or outside the organization fit, you think, if they really wanted to go and get somebody else?
See, true fit. See, to me, with the Santi Sima Jr., anywhere he goes, he should be starting. Now, I know he's got to get cleared from the neck issue,
Mm-hmm.
but he's a starting corner. He's young. He's relatively young. So if he's available, if he has not signed by then, which would surprise me, but if he didn't, that's a guy you got to look at. Kendall Fuller could play nickel. He could play corner.
Yeah.
Stephon Gilmore. The problem with Gilmore is we've talked about him before. He doesn't really fit in zone. That's why the Bills moved off of him when McDermott came in. Is that it just didn't fit a zone system. He's a better man cover corner, so it wouldn't be a great fit here. I mean, he's great. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's a great. Gilly Locke is a great player, but he can still play. He's older than Slay, by the way. But that's it, really, to be honest with you. Fabian Moreau, he's a 30. He's a fourth corner.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, in this situation here, if you're an Eagle fan, you're just hoping one of Ringo or Jackson really works out and can slide in there for Slay. But you hit it on the head. That will not be easy. Slay played really well for this team, especially at his age and reliability. He gave the team a lot. 2 Super Bowl trips and a ring. So that one's going to be a hotly contested contest.
Leadership.
Hotly contested match all summer.
Yep. Leadership. And by the way, where it didn't look good, where it looked like he lost a step in the middle of the season, remember, he closed the season very well.
Yeah.
So we'll see 1 million, 1 year, 10 million that he got from the Steelers. And the Steelers kind of revamped their cornerback group all of a sudden with Jalen Ramsey and Slay. But finishing off the Eagles here, this is where Howie's got up to 13 draft picks next year. This is where wheeling and dealing, just like he did for Ronald Darby. So this will be in play. If they're not happy, one way that Howie's not, this is what makes him great. He's just doesn't care. He's fearless, man. He's where you got so many conservative GMs who, oh no, we're going to build from within. Oh, we'll just sign some journeyman. We'll get through with it. That's. I'm not saying Howie's perfect with that stuff. He tried to patchwork it a couple years ago at ILB. Didn't work very well. But this time, he's got a lot of ammunition for next season.
Mm-hmm.
And he spares no expense, and he's got the backing of the owners to do what he needs to do. So this is one we'll be keeping an eye on. Again, we'll search around. If it doesn't look good, if we hear it's not going well, we'll give you our list of guys that Eagles could potentially target.
All right. Andrew DeCecco will be at the practice today and for almost every single practice. I'll be there Thursday. Adam will be there over the weekend. I believe you said you're going to make.
Yeah, I might. Yeah, who knows? I may show up one of these today or tomorrow.
So by the next time you hear an Inside the Birds podcast, we're going to have a lot of good stuff to talk about. That's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the birds.